The bevel command will, as the name suggests, create a beveled surface using a profile curve. Now, it's an older command. It's probably not one that you'll find yourself using a great deal. It has, for all intents and purposes, been replaced by the Bevel Plus command, which we'll be talking about a little bit later. Now, there's a lot of things that you can bevel. You can really take any curve you like. Like, we could take a circle like so, and we can go to Surfaces, Bevel, and let's just come in here and I'll reset my options, and let's just bevel this out. And here's what we get. We get a surface. Notice how we have sort of an outside bevel, then we extrude up, then we have an inside bevel, like so. But one of the most common uses for this operation is for creating 3D text from curves. So if we go to Create Text, and let's just see what we got. There's the default Maya in Times New Roman. That'll work. We'll go ahead and create this, and we'll just start off by selecting the M. We'll go to Surfaces, and just go ahead and run the bevel, and here you go. So we've created a beveled surface. Now let's take a look at some of the options for this command. First off, we have Attach Surfaces. When you bevel, based on what your bevel settings are below, you can end up with multiple surfaces. In this case, like if I just go ahead and click Apply, we have a surface here at the front, the actual bevel. We have the distant surface, like the extrusion length, and then the back bevel. If Attach Surfaces is on, then these surfaces all get attached to one another. That's really all there is to it. If you simply choose like just the top side bevel, then it's only these two surfaces that get attached naturally because there is no back bevel. So let's talk just a second about the other bevel sides. Let me just go, I'll set this back to both. We'll switch off Attached Surfaces, and you can see now that each one of these is a separate surface that you can adjust on your own. So we'll undo that. From here we have what we're beveling. Are we beveling the top side, the bottom side, both sides, or are we not beveling at all? Actually, if you leave this off, this is a nice way to just create a simple extrusion, like so. Though, I gotta admit, I never really use it for that. So, let's see. Well, let's go ahead and leave this on both. And you have some options here. You have the bevel width, bevel depth, extrude height. You have how the corners are being beveled, whether they're straight or in circular arcs. And you can control the bevel cap edge, whether it's convex, concave, or straight. Now, what I'm going to do, as opposed to actually, running each one of these on a separate one, is if you just select the object and hang on, let me undo Attach Surfaces and click Apply. You'll notice we have a bevel node, and if we jump into the attribute editor, we have access to all of this. So we have the bevel width, which if I slide it, you can see what that's doing. It's actually controlling the width of that extrusion. You have depth, which basically takes the whole bevel and it scales it out, like so. Let's say you don't want to do that, though. Maybe you don't want to mess up a really nice bit of beveling you have going on. Like maybe if I set this down to 0.1 or even, 0.7. I'm sorry, 0.07. So if I have this really nice beveling here and I don't want to mess that up, but I want this to go deeper, you can change the extrude depth, which just stretches the whole thing out, like so. Now your tolerance is going to control basically how accurate the situation is going to be based on either the global tolerance or the local tolerance, which of course you can set in here. This is present in a lot of the NURBS tools. If you set this to local, you can specify your own tolerance. If you leave it at global, you'll be using the positional tolerance available under your preferences settings, like so. In most cases, you won't really need to adjust this. You can control what part of the curve range you are actually beveling. If I delete this and switch on partial and do a bevel, then we also get a sub-curve node that we can select and press the T key, and we can control how much of this curve we actually want to bevel. And you'll notice some things. One, you'll notice that the surface kind of flickers and jumps back and forth depending on what I have selected, how much of the curve is actually present. But you can play with that. If you only need part of the curve to be beveled, then there you go. It's kind of an interesting shape. And let's select this and go back into our options. Finally, you can control your output geometry. You have NURBS, polygons, subdivision, and Bezier. Now, let me go ahead and create a bevel, and let's go back into the node and take a look at some of these other settings. We have corner type. This controls what is going on at the corners of our surface. And right now, this is set to circular, which you can see here. We have a nice circular transition going on here at the corner. If I set this over to linear, you'll notice how that straightens out. So it's just whichever one you prefer. You have bevel shape type, which has straight cut, which you see here is just a straight line leading in, curve out, so it curves in an outward direction, and curve in, so whichever one you prefer. Now, from here, of course, you've got sort of a surface got kind of a hole in it. You couldn't really use this for a flying logo presentation. You would need to select your curve and go back under surfaces and also do a planer in order to create a cap for your surface. Now, this tool, this bevel command, does have a few limitations. For example, if you're doing a letter that has a hole in it, like the letter A, then you need to worry about the order in which you select the curves. Notice if I select the outer curve, then the inner curve, and I run a bevel, it goes backwards, like so. It actually moves back away from the front of the letter. But if I select that in the opposite order, it goes forward. So you got to be aware of that. But even if I do this in the right order, so it goes back, look what's happening on the inside bevel. The inside bevel is actually inverted, so it's going the wrong way. What I need to do is select this inside curve, and I can go to Edit Curves and reverse its direction, and now it points inward, and all is good. And then, of course, you have all of the same settings for this bevel. We could adjust, our corners and whatnot. And when we're finished, we can grab our two curves, go back to surfaces, and planar that, and there you go. So we're starting to create nice three-dimensional text. So that is going to wrap up the video over the bevel command. Thanks a lot.